I was really nervous entering the interview room for my summer internship at IIM Ahmedabad. I was being interviewed by Cadbury, which is the company that I later interned at. But the nervousness stemmed from the fact that one day before my internship interview, all the GDs that I sat for, I wasn't able to clear. So this was not only the best shortlist I had, this was actually the only sales and marketing shortlist I had. So I was so nervous. This was like a make or break for me. But the moment I entered the interview room and I saw the interviewers, I went blank. The interviewer said, "Shweta, introduce yourself." And I was like, And this was me for about 1 minute. I didn't say a word. And yet I made through. So in this video, we are going to talk about the major highlights that I believe helped me clear this interview. And if you're a marketing enthusiast, this interview will be particularly helpful for you. Sales and marketing companies really look for consumer insights, and that I consider to be one of my fortes. I really love observing consumers and coming up with ideas or insights basis that. During this interview, I had the chance to mention that my uncle has a general store. So the interviewer asked me a question that if you have to sell chocolates in your uncle's store, what is a consumer insight that you can use such that the sale of chocolates increases? So I used a model called PCP to solve this problem. Here the first P is product, C is consumer, and the last P is problem. Now the product here is chocolate, which is an impulse product. Generally, it's not there on your grocery list. When you go to a shop, you see a chocolate and you have the impulse to purchase it. And generally the consumer is a child. And finally, what is the problem that a chocolate really solves for a consumer is what I wanted to look for in this particular scenario of my uncle's general store. So because I've spent a lot of time there, I knew that children act as a distraction for their parents when they come to buy something at a general store, and they're always asking their parents to buy this or that for them. So that's where my cue of making the children buy more chocolates came from. So my uncle's shop has a countertop which is transparent, and generally the kids have an average height which is probably at the same level as that of the countertop. So they can easily see what's inside of the countertop. But the recommendation that I had was, what if we place it in such a way that its tangent and the eyesight level matches with that of the chocolate such that the visibility increases. And this is an idea that they really seem to like. In fact, when I joined Mondelez later on, I figured that the visi-coolers that I use there, the fridges that you might have seen, generally have tangential shelves. The second question that they asked me was again about my uncle's general store. Where exactly should we advertise in a shop such that the sales increases or the brand recall increases? To which I just thought for a minute, and I said that probably wherever my uncle is all the time, if you place any advertisement just right behind him such that whenever he goes to pick up the product, the consumers are looking just behind where he generally stands, then the recall would be the highest. And this, to my surprise, again was a match with what the general FMCG policies are. So in most FMCGs, there is a policy of diamond window. Now what does that mean? In case you enter any shop, when you look at the wall in front of you, generally a diamond gets formed. So first of all, a square gets formed and then another square. So a diamond gets made in the middle, and the advertisement should be placed exactly in the middle of that diamond. In fact, you would be surprised to know, and I figured it later when I went for field visits in the market, that these windows are actually paid for. So the FMCG companies, whenever they advertise something in these windows or they place their products, they pay something additional to the shopkeeper. All the FMCGs do this. Before I share the remaining incidents, let me share a resource which will help you crack interviews like anything. If you feel worried that you will also go blank in an interview, you can use Cambly. Cambly is India's only app that allows you to connect with professional tutors that are highly qualified one-on-one. In fact, I would show you a demo as well.
Yeah, how they can improve their English.
Yes.
I think by speaking as much as possible to practice, because you make mistakes when you're learning a language. So the more mistakes you make is fine. You just need to learn from the mistake.
Like you saw, I was able to get a lot of insights from the tutor on how to crack interviews better. And similarly, they have dedicated tutors as well as they have dedicated courses. And one of those courses happens to be how to crack interviews. So in case you have your interviews lined up, practicing English with these tutors and understanding how to talk in an interview setting can help you ace your interviews better. You can use my code SA22OFF. The link will be in the description and the pin comment, but I would really wish that you don't go blank in your interviews. The third question that they asked me was again to check my observation skills, but this time the the advertisement was to be done at IIM Ahmedabad. So they said that if we were to advertise Cadbury, where would we place the posters? Any 3 places that you can name from your institute. To which I said that the first would be the underpass of our institute, because that is a place that connects both of our campuses, and on a daily basis we cross this underpass at least 2 or 3 times. So every person while walking through this underpass will surely glance left or right towards the walls, because there's nothing else to do really when we are passing through the underpass. So I thought that's a great place to advertise anything. The second idea I recommended was that generally at the food outlets there's a waiting time of about 5 to 10 minutes. So why not place something on the table itself so that the students can go through the brochure or the poster or whatever it is that you're placing. And number 3 was that we did have a Nescafe on campus, and there is generally a visi-cooler place there, whether it's of any brand. So if you do an advertisement just right next to it, that might be a good spot. So these were the 3 answers I gave. The next question I was asked was a guesstimate. Guesstimates are really very popular in case of sales and marketing interviews, and in case of a guesstimate you are required to estimate the number of something. Now in case of sales and marketing, it could either be the number of products, it could either be the sales people, the sales staff, or it could generally be the number of shops. So I was prepared for this answer in hand. We get to practice a lot of this, and in fact I'll also share a resource in case you want to practice this. So I was asked to estimate the number of sales people that might be working for Cadbury in Jalandhar. Jalandhar happens to be my hometown. So then I moved forward. I said that I would like to use the population of Jalandhar as the base for this. I said that for about 100,000 people, I would like to assume that there must be so many shops. And then I said that for a cluster of so many shops to be covered in one day, I'm assuming that maybe a salesperson can cover probably 40 to 50 shops a day. And according to that rule, if he works for about 6 days in a particular week, then this should be the number of salespeople that must be there. So that's how I derived the number, and they were happy with it. Later I found out that they actually use a similar benchmark to cover any geography. The last question that they asked me was an HR question. Sales and marketing interviews are notorious for asking you HR or situation based questions, and they would probably even grill you until they are really sure that you're a fit for sales and marketing. So they asked me that assume that there's a salesperson who's working for you, and suddenly he decides to not earn any incentive and he's not even visiting the shops to take orders. What would you do? So I said that I would pick up his track history. I would see how many months he's not been earning the incentive since, and then I would like to understand what's the root cause. So I'll conduct a call with him. And then they said that let's say the salesperson says that ma'am, just because you are a woman, I would not work under you. What would you do? I said that I would obviously be taken aback by that argument, and I would try explaining to him how that's not a very good argument. And I would say that if that's going to persist, then he'll have to quit. They said that would you fire him? I said of course I would give him a warning. I would tell him that this is not how things work, and he'll have to change his mindset, and if he still doesn't want to, then he can leave. And that's where the interview actually started becoming a grilling interview. So I was asked that, can you be this rude? Should you be this rude? I said that there's nothing rude in this. You have to take hard calls in sales. And that's something that they were probably looking for, because in sales, you actually have to take hard calls. So probably that's the question or the answer that made them feel that this was it. They would not want to ask any other questions. And the verdict was that I was selected. And I was so teary-eyed after I got to know that I'm getting into Mondelez for my summers. I in fact also got a PPO from Mondelez. It was such an amazing experience working there for about 1.5 months. But yes, happy to share the experience with you guys. In case you have any other questions regarding this, feel free to put it in the comments.